item 10A, which is that budgeting webinar. I just came in yesterday and I sent out the email today to everybody. I'm not sure if you got a chance to see it, but Municipal World is hosting a workshop on budgeting, and I thought, well, this might be an interesting one just for some of council to sit in on, and maybe your CAO and CFO to see if they were interested in it. So I sent it out, but I just thought we should at least chat about it because it's on the 30th and we won't have another meeting before. It's a short presentation on priority-based budgeting, so basing the budget on your priorities. And we had some feedback from our CAO on that by email, but I'll just throw it out, see what you guys think. But before we do, we need a motion. I forgot. And I'm going to make the motion. Boy, how is that? It's my show. I really wrecked it. That was bad of me. And nobody corrected me. I can't believe it. Nobody caught me. So, yeah. I'll make the motion that council approve 2 members of council to attend the priority-based budgeting webinar. So, and I've already done what I should have said after that motion. So I'll just throw it open to any questions, comments, and go from there. Councillor Gilroy.
You mentioned in your pre-motion discussion that it might be good for our CFO and maybe our CAO. Where do they come into the motion? Is it just going to be if they can afford it, throw it in, or because the only ones you mentioned just now were 2 councillors as opposed to maybe an admin and a councillor?
We don't necessarily dictate which PD that CFOs and CAOs would attend, so I didn't make it, but I did want to hear, because I think it's really important that if we're going to move in that direction, that council and administration's on the same page, because it is a little bit, or it would be a little bit of a different budgeting process than we've been using in the past. I don't know how different because I haven't done that type of budgeting, but I just thought I would throw it out there to see. It might be worthwhile, and it's supposed to be something that you tie your strategic priorities into your budget and make sure that they line up and you got money for what your priorities are, and go from there. So turn it over to our CEO.
So I can confirm, I don't think in the motion it would really be appropriate to direct the administration to take additional training, but absolutely I think we would want to be part of that to see what council sees. I have an experience with priority-based budgeting, so I have a really good understanding, but still, I think there's little different slants on different, I guess, small details, so absolutely we would be ready to go. Yeah. Thank you.
So I guess I'll ask our CEO, what do you think of priority-based budgeting? Is it something that we should be looking into?
I think with any budgeting process, it's good to keep an open mind. Going through priority-based budgeting a few times in my life, it is a substantial amount of work. Your entire accounting system is not set up for priority-based budgeting. So basically what that means is you're taking your line-by-line item, which is kind of our budget process, figuring out what it costs to provide our multitude of services. So I don't know how many services we have within the municipality, but it's a lot. And depending on how detailed you want to be, I mean, you could say just generally tax type stuff, or you could say tax receivables. So you could, so there's how deep do you go to determine the various service levels. And so I think you can appreciate our budget is set up that way. So what you basically do is say that service, define that service. That can be great. That's one of the problems with priority-based budgeting. But if you come up with a definition and then you track every single cost associated with that specific service or function. So now you may have public works and they have X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars. We'd go through and start identifying each of the things they do, like pothole filling, and we'd allocate all the salaries attributable to that, maybe even a portion of the financial pieces, because we have to say that we're paying some of the bills on the asphalt. So you're tracking everything back to each service. So it's a pretty in-depth process that when you go into that, you usually start using spreadsheets. So you don't use your financial software system, which generates reports. You're actually using spreadsheets. And so then you're kind of maintaining two systems. But there is a benefit to it, but it is a lot more work. So one of the positive things is you see exactly what does that service cost. But it's a lot of work. And so if you wanted to increase the level of service on that piece, you have a pretty good idea of what it costs. Or vice versa. If you want to reduce it, you know what the savings would be. But I think you can see through that process, depending on how well your services are defined, first of all, and how well your tracking mechanism is, it can be a lot of work and maybe some assumptions when you start going into how much of your overall pot you should, let's say fuel, how much you put into your lawnmowers. Right? You start getting into really minutia type things. So it depends how deep you want to go. I don't know, hopefully I gave you an overview of what the process kind of is like. And there's some pros to it, but there is a lot of work. And so I think from an administrative perspective, going into 2021 budget, to do a job that I would be happy with to present to council, I don't think you could possibly do it. But I think actually looking at what it can do, maybe it gives, if council wants to move that direction, maybe administration could prepare for that for the 2022/26 budget. I think it'd be more forward-looking if you want to go in that direction and get a product that actually means something. Long answer, but
No, very good. Yeah, and what I hear is we can't go there. We don't have the time and the manpower to go there for 2021, but it might be something for 2022, and we could start looking at it and see if that's, a direction that we'd want to go. All right, anybody else on that? So is there anybody that would like to participate in that workshop? It is September 30th and $325 online.
3 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
3 hours boot camp.
And then you can have a one-on-one hour session with the person if you had questions or you wanted more
Oh, so we
information.
can't just buy the webinar and have a couple people in the room? That's what I was thinking,
Well,
like, why can't you
well-
just buy the webinar, pay the one, and then whichever council can go, because there's probably only a few that can go, can come and you can have it set up here.
We
And then
could.
administration can be here too if they have the time to.
We'd only register one person and we could have 4 people sitting around a computer screen.
I don't know, like, is that not what they want us to, they don't let.
Well,
Well,
no,
I
I'm
guess, like-
sure they would love to have everybody logging in and each paying the $325, but that's a good idea. That's a better idea.
so I think we just, we better look at the terms to ensure that we're following
Oh, right,
rules,
yeah.
and so we'll
We can,
look into that.
Yes.
Don't-
okay. No, the 30th. Oh, yeah, that's the master plan.
That would mean I have a report too.
Okay.
By the way, Ron.
So we'll probably.
Yeah, our CEO will probably be busy on that day too. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna, I like the idea that we have one account and maybe we can't have more, but officially we'll have one person attend, and then if somebody happens to drop in.
I think our meeting is actually going to be long.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so,
I'm just guessing.
yeah. I'm going to amend my motion that we have one account or one member booking that as opposed to 2, a friendly amendment. Any other questions?
I'm in meetings all day,
Oh,
so.
you're, everybody's
From
in.
8 to 9 at night that day, so not me.
No, I'd like to sit in on it.
Recreation will be here, so there's
Yeah.
an opportunity to.
Pop in. You can take a
Well,
little,
maybe we
but
can
at least
have
look.
administration just double check on the
Yeah,
terms. then.
but it'll be, like, I will be there and.
Yeah, well, that's good. I think, I mean, it sounds like it's a good idea to look into. I really like the idea that we can determine a cost of service. Like if you could actually, because if you're looking at going through some tougher times and you know how much a service actually costs you specifically, makes it easier to make decisions on how to make changes if necessary.
Well, and how much more work would it be? And we need to, because we don't want to overwhelm, we don't have a big staff as it is, and we know we've got issues to make sure that we're meeting our auditor's needs for next year.
No, but we tried this a slight bit before when we had the intergovernmental charges. When we tried to charge off our CAO's time and that to a few others, and that I'm not sure how well everyone thinks that went. I'm not going to bring that up too much, but we did try a portion of that before, and I'm not sure it went that well, but
We're still doing that.
yeah,
We're doing that.
it was confusing for some people,
But
but
I think I think that process is still in place, Brad,
Yeah,
as far as
Interdepartmental.
yeah. Okay, we have a motion. All of those in favor? Opposed? 2, it passes. And we'll move on to our CAO's report and action list.
So let's keep this short this go around. The directions. My bigger update is going to be in 2 weeks' time, but I did.
Yeah. We do. So we get a motion? You got a motion on it?
no, you can do it.
No, you go-
Your turn.
You go for it.
Sure.
I can't.
I'll do it, I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead.
The council received the CAO's Rod Rising report and action list for information.
Thank you, and thank you for catching. Okay, on to it.
Yeah, so I was just going to bring up that, last 2 weeks ago I indicated that we were hopefully going to be scheduling a strategy session for next week. That's not going to happen. We're likely looking at the week of the 4th or 5th. I just feeling out a little bit as far as availability. I know Tuesdays are typically the days that council has attempted to keep somewhat free, if at all possible. I've heard that there's some issues with regards to conflicts as far as the Tuesdays, so I'm just kind of putting that out there. There's also the talk of the organization meeting, and so the last couple of years, 1 year was done as a special meeting, and the other year was done as we started the regular council meeting at 6 o'clock. And then moved on to regular council about 7:15 type thing. So it usually takes just over an hour. And so rather than having a special meeting for the organizational meeting, we probably could do it on the 27th. If council wanted to actually come in a little bit earlier. So I'm kind of seeing that maybe there's some nods to do that rather than doing another whole meeting.
That's October.
Sorry, yes, October 27th, of doing the organization meeting.
it usually doesn't take us too
Yeah,
long.
100%.
And we're going to deal with some of it during the strategic meeting anyway, if we're going to cut down on the groups. Or committee start.
So, we're just moving, I guess I'm just feeling out the 6th before we actually call it. The 6th is a Tuesday.
Yeah, and I'll mention that Tuesdays for me are going to be more difficult. I've got commitments with my real job on Tuesday evenings for the next little while. So if it was possible to do another day would be better for me, if it's possible, and if not, when I can get away, I would, and if I can't, then I can't. But if we could move it to the Monday or the Wednesday or something, it would work better for me.
It doesn't matter. All 3 days are fine for me.
Yeah.
move until Monday?
What about you, Donna?
Sounds it's not the 12th.
We're talking like your
Thanksgiving.
Donna, does moving to Monday work for you?
What's that?
Does moving to Monday work for you?
For what, the council meeting?
No, for the strategic planning meeting.
Like the 21st?
That would be
Or no, the 28th?
the 5th.
Oh, the 5th? Okay. I got nothing.
May I also ask if the 7th is available? Is
Pardon
the
me?
7th,
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 7th? I saw from this side the 7th was okay. 7th is no good?
Nope.
Okay, so it has to be the 5th. Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Judy,
feedback.
works for you?
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
everybody here was.
So it's the 7th?
No, the 5th.
It's now the,
Okay.
okay,
Can
the
you
5th.
send out a reminder?
What time?
Yes, we will send out a meeting.
Yeah.
But we have to notify, that's a special meeting, so
7
we'll do
o'clock?
that. 7 o'clock?
Donna was asking.
7 o'clock.
We'll
Alright.
send out a meeting invite.
Okay. Anything else?
No, it's supposed to keep it brief.
All
So
right.
I've been instructed, my next council meeting will be a longer update.
All right. Is there any questions for our CAO? I don't see any. So we have a motion to receive for information. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on then to written and verbal reports. We'll start with Councillor Danaka.
I had a museum meeting and just a few highlights. Darlene applied for the COVID emergency support funds, the Qs I think it was. After all the hoopla of finding the right person to talk to and doing the application, the museum was awarded $20,955. And hopefully when we do the budget, we don't get punished because Darlene was conscientious enough to go and find grants to cover some of the stuff. The gift shop has changed its focus to more local crafters. She's getting lots of local artisans who want to have their products displayed and sold through there. They're working on getting the log cabin cleaned and organized. She called Mike Denty to come and take the Vic signs down. That never happened, so Lauren and her took them down. And so I don't know where they are for the town to come and get them and put them wherever they're going to put them. People were still stopping, looking for area maps and actual hard copy maps and information. As well, Darlene was contacted by Donna Gray, Kenny Gray Jr.'s wife, as they were cleaning out an old shed or whatever, or she found all these pictures and stuff about the High Prairie Rockettes, the female baseball team that we had, and it's coming up on their 50th anniversary. So she's trying to coordinate with Donna to get the stuff. While the museum is open, but not necessarily doing what they normally do in terms of schools and whatever, they're using that time to clean the taxidermy mounts. They're also still working on the Truth and Reconciliation displays that they have there. As well, they received a donation from Dorothy Cowell of 8 photo albums that belong to Georgina Truckee. And Darlene's working on a small exhibit about Georgina. She also received a 1940s gas mask from the High Parade Fire Department. They're working on Veterans Week. Not sure how that's going to play out in the sense because they usually have Seniors Veterans Week, but with COVID, they're working on doing some stuff online on their website in terms of historical displays, etc., etc. And Darlene did mention that it seems with COVID, people aren't necessarily either working or they're at home more, so she's getting lots of calls from people who want to donate items that they've found as they're cleaning. And that's it for the museum. I move my verbal report for information.
Any questions or comments for Councillor Danaka? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's carried. Councillor Gilroy.
It's been a busy while. I had a meeting with our representative, Coate from Mackenzie Municipal and our new CEO just to see what was happening. And actually, for any councillor who would like to look at this, I already have a copy of this, but this is the 5-year strategic plan as well as the letter of introduction they had for our CAO. So that'll be for you guys to look at later. I had a Lesser Slave Lake Watershed Council, and on October the 2nd, in High Prairie, at the Elks downtown, they'll be having their AGM, and everyone's invited. It's at 1:30 in the afternoon. And I can leave some of this stuff here for you. It's a 2019 water monitoring report, as well as the annual report, for anyone who wants to look at that as well. And I've got some good news regarding AUMA. Although some of you were not able to be there, I have attended 9 of the meetings so far. In other words, I've attended every single educational one. And what I found out as well, by attending that, they should be sending me, when this is over, they should be sending me a link to every presentation, which I can then pass on to all the counselors who were not able to make that. So, and there's some really good ones in there, especially the one this morning had to do with all the policing. And so there was a whole bunch of different things in there. Something good for our fire department, public safety personnel, reducing the impact of psychological injury. That's a freebie. You don't have to go to Slave Lake to get it. It's a freebie that they'll actually come up here and do the work. All sorts of wonderful things, including municipal elections updates of changes. And on the potential of innovation, actually one of the presenters, I think we all know, a certain partner in Magna. That's right. The young lady who's been helping us that's right, Jennifer Messick was there presenting today with a couple other people. So there, and of course with the policing, we also had our old friend who lives up in Salt Prairie. Bill Sweeney was doing the government aspect of it. So there's a whole bunch of different things in there. And I will be doing the other ones tomorrow, the Housing for Health and Relationship Building, which is with all the, with 3 former municipal affairs ministers. And so, as I said, all this stuff that I'm getting this week, if you were unable to because you were working or had other commitments, I should be getting all the links and I can pass them on to all council, and then you can watch them at your leisure. So I think that's just about it for me. So I move my verbal report for information.
All right. Any questions or comments? Councillor Stenhouse.
So how did the AUMA conference go via Zoom or web?
To be perfectly honest, it was, to me, although they had what they considered to be good turnouts on these webinars, which were one in the morning and one in the afternoon, to me, considering what our normal numbers are, it was terrible. They had maybe 100 people on the webinars. And you have to remember last year when we went down to Edmonton, was it Edmonton last year? Yeah, there's 1,100 delegates. And we had lots of education ones to deal with. So to have only 100 people online, maybe 116, something like that, to me, is really not good. It's like they missed the social aspect and all the rest of the things that go with it. So they had other priorities other than being there. But the information received, I was surprised at some of the advocacies that we were able to do. And we have until Friday if anyone wants to put their name forward for any commitment, any committee. There are applications for that before, I think it's Friday. But the main stuff, the 2 days or the day and a half, will start Thursday morning, go right through to Friday at noon for the main bulk of it, with all the voting on all the resolutions.
Anything else? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Councillor Long is not here, so over to me. I attended with our CAO online the Northern Alberta Elected Leaders meeting, and just to give you some of the highlights, our new Minister of Municipal Affairs attended, Tracy Allard, and so that was good. As the members, it was stressed a lot about the assessment review. She heard that, and she actually had mentioned that they were having another meeting and on last Friday, and there was a promise to be hearing that again in Valley View, and she was going to send out an invite, but by the time they sent out the invite, it was already full. So we didn't get a chance to go to it. But there was more talk about recommendations that were put forth by the Caribou Committee that's been working on that. We had a request to bring forward a Children's Stollery Hospital support letter if council would support it, and I suspect that might come to our next council meeting, so we can leave that there. It was interesting that they had indicated that they're looking at a toll bridge at Tompkins Landing, which would be kind of interesting, and businesses supporting it. And so this is going up to Lacrete up there, that ferry and ice bridge. So it's looking positive. The government doesn't have any regulations or any acts to permit that at this point, but they're looking at doing it now. It was an idea brought forward, so that was good. I had a Heart River Housing meeting, and some of the key points on that is they've started the renovations at the old RCMP building. They, I guess not as part of the meeting, but as an email yesterday, they had their computer system hacked. So that's causing them some grief right now. They had some backups, so they'll be able to recover that, but they did manage to mess up some of their forms and other things that they're going to have to rebuild. And then just anytime you have to reinstall, old updates, it's not an easy or quick process, so that's going to be a problem. We also attended the intermunicipal meeting on Monday with Councillor Rose and Councillor Courtley. Some of the highlights from that. We're still working on the helipad issue. What else? else. I didn't write this one down, so I gotta.
Broadband.
Yeah, we talked about broadband. They're looking at going forward with the Starlink. They're still on that one, and so they were going to keep us informed on what's happening there. We had said we were going to look for our own solution for broadband in town, and would keep them in the loop also. So maybe we can work together on something like that. But at this point, nothing was nailed down. We had some talk about policies and procedures that we needed to work on around recreation, and I don't know, that was all. If anything I missed, I know these other two can fill in. And just when we're talking about broadband, I did get the opportunity, I got a call back from Craig Jones of Peaceland Communications. Now, he was the one I'd mentioned before that I had talked to Roll Global, and they had said, you know, here's the guy that's doing some of the stuff locally. And he gave me his number, and I left a message. Didn't really hear anything from him, but he did get back, and he said that he would give me some information on what they could do for our town, and we could bring it forward to a future council meeting. So it's another option that's still out there, and we'll see where that leads us. I move my report for information.
I got a question.
All right, fire away.
Okay, I'm confused. At our last meeting, we nominated 2 councillors for the helipad committee. So are we not duplicating these committees? If intermunicipal is talking about the helipad, why are we put on this helipad committee?
Well, there was the crew that was going to work on that committee. The intermunicipal was just a report that they hadn't. Basically, their report was they didn't get a response from who they normally get responses from, so they were going to other people within AHS to try and get on site and go from there. So that committee has not met.
No.
They were supposed to meet, but they haven't been able to get a meeting with AHS yet. So when they do, that subcommittee or that other committee will meet.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions, Councillor Gilroy?
Since you're talking about some infrastructure stuff, was there any discussion about the suggestion, the resolution at AUMA to begin a 1% sales tax for Alberta? Did you have any response from them? Which was supposed to, that 1% was supposed to be divided among all the municipalities to fund strictly capital projects. Was there
No.
any talk about that?
No.
Okay. Wonder if our council had any, how they wanted us to vote on that.
In favor of taxes?
You're the only one that knows about this.
Okay.
That's because I read the resolutions. Rod got me to read them.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 of you.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I move my report for information. All in favor? Councillor Courtley.
Couple meetings, intermunicipal, of course, and then today had a little meeting out of the airport. So, looking at the response we had from the fly-in lunch, which was excellent, and out of that we have a few small things with signage and stuff. We're working on signage for off the highway to upgrade, since they upgraded the access and the highway access and stuff. We've lost some signage, so we're looking at upgrading the signage, getting all the transportation, see if they can put up the green airport signs and stuff like that again, as well as signage at the airport, because with the painting and the upgrading of the building, all the signs were taken down and they're old and antiquated, so they're looking at quotes for signage and stuff like that. So it's coming along, and a couple of the people that flew in wrote back basically saying that that's one of the best receptions or from an airport they've ever had. Even when people aren't there, it's still receptive because of the stuff that is going on out there. So yeah, it's positive. It's good. I move my verbal report for information.
Anything for Councillor Corley? Seeing none, all in favor?
Because of you, the signage is going up.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for the documentation to show how many people use it in a year and why we're investing so much money in it. But signage is good.
Documentation for a year, well, that's gonna be tough. Not everybody registers when they laugh.
We'll go to Councillor Rose's report.
I was at the intermunicipal meeting with these guys as well that sort of reported on it. I'll just add that we were updated by our CAO about, and council mostly had received that email as well, but that the recreation, or the pool manager has resigned, and Rod is now the pool manager as well, as all of his other titles. And we discussed some of the policies that we don't have, and with the committee, and shared that maybe we were going to look a little deeper into some of the recreation policies, like when the ice goes in, something firm, so it's not a question each year, how we handle the ice logo, like things that really have come up this year that that didn't normally exist. I mean, the ice time has always been an issue, but that's been brought up to the committee in the past. But yeah, this COVID year has been more interesting, and it's a lot easier, I think, for especially in an intermunicipal situation, that we have clear policies. So we're going to take a look at that a little different. And we discussed the hopefully soon upcoming, or the need for the joint use meeting. We're trying to coordinate a joint use meeting so we can deal with the, I guess each year we usually have it in September, and we get the opportunity to approve the joint use for another year. So we need to sort of deal with it, because part of the joint use agreement is the access to all the gymnasiums for the community, and the schools right now have shut down that use. So that's another topic of conversation, but yeah, we're hoping to be able to have that meeting soon. We had an FCSS meeting, and I was with Councillor Stenhouse. Sort of the key point for me out of that meeting, and maybe Councillor Stenhouse has more, was that they're struggling with meeting services for some of the areas because of they've cut back. Their budget's been cut back, and their hours have been cut back. So they feel right now that there's seniors and people that have needs that they're struggling to meet. One, they've got COVID restrictions, and two, now they have a shortage of staff and hours. So they're hoping to go back to their administration and see if they can look at increasing the hours. And I am also at the AUMA with Councillor Gilroy. Although it's interesting this year, I don't have to sit at a table with them. We don't have to, we're not actually, eye to eye all the time. So I didn't even know he was on the meetings with me. But I was...
you haven't listened to all the questions I put forward?
Oh,
every time mentions Brian, it's me.
Oh, damn. I should read those little chats, eh?
Q&As.
Oh, you're in the Q&As, are you? But one thing I thought was interesting today, in that last session, was on PACE. And are you familiar with those programs? You were at this. Did you listen to the session today? Oh, you probably not today. But you're familiar with that program, because the city of Edmonton has that. It's what? Property Assessed Clean Energy Financing Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like. What's your thoughts on that program?
When I was still involved with it, it was pretty much impossible to implement. So Edmonton was the pilot project, and so they were given some leeway as to implementation. And the way it was written, it was pretty much impossible to do. But and I don't know where it is at now. So initial was really, really difficult. But I'm not sure. I would have liked to have listened to it today to see if they overcame some of the barriers.
Well, you know, they didn't share with us a lot of the details, so that's why I was curious when I knew that City of Edmonton was involved. I was going to ask you about it. We listened to Rocky Mountain House in Devon. So what it is a financial program that the municipality backs, basically, right? So, and it's basically for communities that have lots of older homes, so people could come forward and apply for this loan or grant, and it's attached to their assessment, it's attached to their taxes, so they pay it off annually, and it stays with the property. So if you do, and that's what they didn't give me is the details of, like, are you doing windows, are you doing furnaces, like, what are you doing to the homes? I'm guessing that that's the types of upgrades, and so they made it kind of sound interesting, because realistically, if you're going to spend, you know, $20,000 doing an upgrade to windows on your house, but you're only going to be there for, you know, 5 years, you might not realize that that value increase in your property. But having that attached to the property when it's sold, I thought might be an interesting concept. But I didn't know how it helped the homeowner different than just going for a home equity loan. Like, they didn't really get into all the details, but you did have to pass a motion of council in order to qualify for the program and to be part of it. So we'll bring the information forward. It sounded interesting, and then if Rod's got some background in it, that'd be helpful. But you know, we do have a lot of older homes in the community that are struggling. It would be nice to see that there was some access to easier money to do some upgrades. But anyway, that was my highlight of the AUMA so far. Actually, there's been good sessions, but that one I thought there might actually be something that we could implement. But we'll see if there's a possibility of it seeming more or easier than what it sounds like it was.
You move your report?
Yeah, so looking at what's his name with his hand up.
Well, you gotta move it, and then we'll get.
I'll move my report for information.
Councillor Governor.
I've heard glowing reports about the survey that was done about the recreation master plan. I'm just wondering if you know whether or not High Prairie School Division fanned that out to their students, since they're high users of our facilities. Would have been nice to have them send something home to the parents, or that because, you know, the school division uses our ice rinks, our swim pool, all their kids do it for hockey and everything else. So it would be nice to have that generation, especially the high school kids, have some input into that 10-year plan. So do you know if they gave us any support?
I can't tell you if they did or they didn't. They were certainly given the opportunity, and they're a stakeholder as well, so they would have received the stakeholder survey.
Okay.
I don't know what they did
It's
as far
just
as.
one of the particular seminars we were in. They talked about making sure that we had all the stakeholders possible, that they were actually.
Yeah, and they certainly were given the information, and I know that we've been doing follow-up with their calls to the school division to coordinate meetings. They know that we're that opportunity existed, and it's been well advertised. I think we had pretty good results. Like, we had lots of. I'm thinking I'm liking surveys as far as people actually paying attention to.
No, we heard nothing but good idea. There was a lot of really good numbers of people. That's why I was just wondering about the school division as well.
Yeah, no, and they certainly could have. I mean, ultimately, all parents are, have the access to all the other sources of being able to, whether it's our website, the county's website, Facebook pages. They had the opportunity to fill it out, I'm sure.
Anything else for Councillor Rose? Seeing none, she moved her report for information. All those in favor? All right. Councillor Stenhouse.
So I would like to make a motion for a verbal report. All I have to report on is the FCSS meeting. Couple of things is there's still to go to the office is by appointment only, just to let people know, and their visits are down due to the COVID, that they've got to clean and everything. Another highlight that I took back from there is that our town seniors bus is no longer supporting the county residents. They used to pick up residents within a 20-kilometer, 15-kilometer radius. Now they're just staying in town, so anyone outside of that area would have to contact the county bus. And another thing that they're really struggling with is their Christmas hampers. The price of groceries has skyrocketed. And they're just gonna have to shop around for good prices because they're unable to provide enough hampers for everyone because of the high cost of groceries, so they're really gonna have to shop around. And I'm gonna slip this in here because I did have a question for the CAO, but I couldn't remember what it was, so I'm gonna slip it into my report to remind everyone of our policy that the Raven Hotel has done an improvement, and so has the drive-in
Burger Baron.
restaurant, Burger Baron,
Burger
yeah.
Baron's done a lot of work.
That we have a policy that when a business does a major renovation that for aesthetics or anything, that we do provide them with a bouquet of flowers or a thank you for the improvements. So I move my verbal report for information.
Councillor Gilroy.
Just a clarification there, Councillor Stenhouse.
Yes.
You're talking the Golden Age bus, not the town bus, right? Because we don't have a town bus.
Well, yes, the seniors
The
bus.
Golden Age bus.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, the golden.
Anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. We are now on to our closed session, so we'll take a break and then we'll move into the closed session afterwards. And